The following is a Hoop Ball presentation. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Fantasy NBA Today. My name's Adrian Benjamins, and I'm joined by Neil Rochlani. Neil, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Adrian?
Good. Before we get started, I should mention this is a Hoop Ball presentation. You guys feel free to hit Neil and I up on Twitter. He's at Ball with Neil. I'm at Adrian Benjamins. We want to get some questions this offseason. We want to hear from you guys. So hit us up. And Neil, how are you coping with no basketball on right now?
It's a depressing season for me right now. I've been busy, fortunately enough, that I'm not too bummed out. I'm starting to do some research for next year already, so starting to plug in numbers and starting to make a list of different players, and I've been busy with other things. So it hasn't been too bad, but yes, I am sad. I actually got sad once we got to the finals because I knew that was going to be just kind of depressing to watch. But it's did you see any of the parade today? I didn't watch it.
No, man, I didn't watch any of it. I just can't watch it. And I think we're really lucky that the NBA is one of these leagues that it kind of feels like there's always something going on. We got the draft coming up, I think next week. Free agency's always super interesting. There's always stuff going on. So, we're really lucky that we are into a league that I just feel like even in the off season, there's always something to talk about. And, one thing you just reminded me of is a few years ago, I really kind of stopped turning off. Meaning, when I first started playing fantasy, I completely switched off in the off season. I was like, all right, season's over. I'm not even paying attention. When I started kind of staying tuned in the off season, I found that it really helped me for the regular season. I don't know, man. It just kind of helps you prepare for the regular season when you're kind of still studying, still keeping up with what's going on in the off season. So I think, man, I'm really excited for this upcoming season. Just to be able to talk to you, Neil, and to be a part of the Hoop Ball crew. I feel like we're going to really be tuned in for the upcoming season. Mock draft season, I can't wait to just bounce ideas off you guys on rankings and sleepers and guys to avoid. And just, I'm just geeked, man. I'm geeked, Neil.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say it, but yes, I'm into all those things too. And hit me up on Twitter or Adrian if you have any guys you want to discuss or just throw out there, or even give us advice. I'm open to constructive criticism as well. So just want to get more interactive out there. So do we want to talk about LeBron? Because I think every NBA show has to talk about LeBron, right?
Well, we got a little time to kill before we get into the Chicago Bulls. Yeah, let's talk about LeBron. Dan and I talked yesterday. Really interesting to get his thoughts. I think he is leaning towards LeBron going to Philly. He feels like Philly's kind of that front runner. What do you think, Neil? Neil, if you had to bet your money, where is LeBron going?
Well, this is interesting because I saw a post on Twitter, which I think is now no longer there, which actually had the odds of where LeBron was going to end up. And he was even money to the Lakers and plus 400 with the next category. So I don't know how accurate that is. That's all going to be inside information that gets disseminated. And that, as we know, often leaked information is false deliberately to throw people off, the scent and the trail where people are going. So who knows? But I think it's going to be Philly's definitely in the mix. The Lakers are in the mix. And then Houston, although he did make a comment today, he didn't like Houston as a city or something like that. So I don't know where that is, but that just could be also a distraction. So I think those three are the top three teams. And I really don't have a preference. I think wherever he goes, it's just going to be fun to watch. Yeah, so that I don't know. Do you? So if I had to say gun in my head, I would go with the Lakers only because I saw that odds line that was so strong for the Lakers. So anyway, do you have a thought on it?
So, oh man, okay. So here's the thing: if if you're only thinking about winning, the Houston Rockets. Everything else, the Los Angeles Lakers. And when I say everything else, I mean the city, his family, business-wise. You know, he's already been in a few movies. He wants to do more movie stuff. You know, that's all in L.A. Is it just about winning? If it's just about winning, the Rockets, I think, would be the best option for him. I think him joining that team, they're automatic championship contenders. I would think they would be the favorites to win the title. Now, I think the Lakers could be really interesting still from a winning standpoint as well, because he can join up with another guy like Paul George, Kawhi Leonard maybe. Heck, maybe even a guy like Chris Paul can still, he's a free agent. I believe he could leave the Rockets. Maybe he can join there. And, the Lakers have a real interesting supporting cast with Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram. I mean, that's a much better supporting cast than what he had this year in Cleveland. So the Lakers make sense. The Rockets make sense. Philly as well. A lot of people who think that he wants to stay in the East and avoid all those powerhouse teams in the West. Philly makes great sense as well. So those are the three teams, I think. And if I had to bet my money, man, I really want to say Houston, but the Lakers are kind of creeping up there. That all this buzz about his son enrolling in a school in the LA area, I mean, it kind of makes me think it could be the Lakers. So, I don't know, Neil. It's going to be real interesting to see what goes down, man. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I agree with you on winning Houston. And then I think Philly is obviously a really good choice, too. I don't know how their contracts are structured in the sense that you can't just jump in there without having to worry about changing those pieces, which I'm assuming they're all on rookie contracts. So,
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. They don't have a lot of money tied up. Embiid, Simmons, I believe all those guys are still on rookie deals. I think they gave some money to JJ Redick, but I think they definitely would have money to pay LeBron. So, yeah, man. And, they have an interesting supporting cast, too. They got some good shooters, some good wing guys. Robert Covington, Dario Saric, JJ Redick, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. So they got an interesting supporting cast there as well. I don't know, Neil.
Yeah, no, if he goes to Philly, they become the front runner for sure for the East. And then they could actually compete against Golden State, with Embiid and Simmons. And then Fultz, we'll see how he develops, right? We still haven't really seen what his potential is going to be. So, that'd be fun to watch if he goes there. So we'll see. Yeah. And then obviously we have the draft coming up, which kind of ties into the Bulls because this is probably going to affect their roster in terms of minutes played and who's going to be featured. I don't know who's going to get. They're kind of far enough down that it's hard to predict who's going to land there.
So I have some thoughts on this. Okay. I do a lot of research right now. When as soon as basketball season ends, I start diving deep into this upcoming draft. So. I've been doing a lot of research. Neil, there's like 5 big men in this draft that I like a lot. DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley, Mo Bamba, Jaren Jackson Jr., Wendell Carter. And I think any one of these guys would be a great addition for the Chicago Bulls. So they just need one of these guys to fall to them at pick 7. I think that's a definite possibility. All they need is one of these bigs to fall, and I think they're golden. And I'm really excited about this draft. I really hope the Bulls can get a great pick here to pair with Lauri Markkanen and this young core of Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine. I'm really excited, Neil. I'm excited. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I want to see who's there. I know that Hoiberg probably wants a shooter. He probably wants everyone to be able to shoot. So I don't know which of these centers has the best shot in terms of being able to fit in with the rotation. Lopez is not going to be the staple going forward on the Bulls. as much as I love that hair. So we'll see. We'll see who they get. I think one of those guys could fall. And like I said, it's hard to predict because I don't know how the dominoes are going to go on the draft. So, but I'm excited. This is going to be a really great class. So I'm excited to see who goes where.
Yeah, I think one thing that the Bulls have to their advantage is they've got a great big man in Lauri Markkanen who can shoot outside. So he kind of spaces the floor. He can play outside. So now they can get a guy like Mo Bamba, who's an inside presence. It's just a perfect fit next to Lauri Markkanen. Also that guy, Jaren Jackson Jr., I think he would be a great fit because he's such a good defender. So, man, I'm geeked, man. Lauri Markkanen is a real versatile big man. So that's what I like is like you can pretty much pair him with any one of these bigs in this draft, and he would be a pretty good fit. So, yeah, I'm excited, Neil.
Yeah, me too. Well, Bulls have a chance to actually have a decent team next year. We'll see how it plays out. Do you wanna switch over then to the fantasy side?
Yeah, let's get into the Chicago Bulls. We knew this year they weren't going to be very good. We knew this year it was all about kind of tanking, get a high draft pick, develop these young guys. That's exactly what we saw. I was really impressed what we got out of Chris Dunn this year. I'm a guy who I was stay away from Chris Dunn guy. I was really scared of his turnovers and his percentages, and I thought that he shot really bad from the field, and he completely won me over this year. He looked great. Didn't shoot it too bad. The defensive stats, the steals, rebounds well for a point guard, the assists, I thought he did really good. Now, there's some interesting reports coming out of Chicago that they might not be happy with his off-season work. Like, he's not putting in the time. He's not working hard in the off-season. What do you think about this, Neil?
Yeah, I just started hearing that reports as well, and I don't know how much that is trying to get him motivated to spend more time in the off-season training or it's real. So that's interesting because I thought we had talked earlier on a show that one of my players that might do well next year is Chris Dunn. I see, according to my statistics, which is ACAT, on 2018 averages, he was 58th in the player rater on 29 minutes. So I think if he is a starting point guard, his minutes will go up to the low 30s. So I think his overall player rater will get into the 40s if that's the case. But because I'm looking at his stat line. He had 2 steals, which might be an anomaly. That might be a little bit high. But his assists at 6, I don't think is high. His rebounds at 4.3. He only shot less than 1 3-pointer game at 0.8, and then he had half a block, which is pretty amazing for a point guard, on about 12.8 shots. So I don't think that's going to change drastically next season if he's a starting point guard. So this is going to be one to watch because I thought he was someone who would be ranked in the 70s and could outperform that. And now who knows where he's going to be in the pecking order if this is a real thing about him maybe not playing that, huge starter minutes that I was expecting. So we'll have to see how that goes. So it's a little disheartening to hear, though.
One warning sign for me is if the Bulls go after a point guard in this draft at pick 7, if they get a Trae Young, a Colin Sexton, then I'm worried. Then I believe there's a lot of truth to these rumors that they may not be happy with Chris Dunn. But I'm really happy with this backcourt of Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine. You got some interesting guys out on the wing in the small forward spot. Denzel Valentine had some interesting value. David Nwaba at times put up some really great value this season. So you got some interesting pieces on the wing. You got Lauri Markkanen, Bobby Portis there in the front court. Now, if you can add a stud rookie big man to this front court, man, this could be a really fun team. Really young, exciting team. So I'm really hoping one of these bigs in this draft falls to them at 7. And I could definitely see it happen. So there's some teams that are picking ahead of them, teams like the Orlando Magic, who really need a guard. So I'm really hoping there's one or two teams that are picking ahead of them that will go after this Trae Young, Colin Sexton, and can get one of these bigs to drop down. But anyways, Neil, what do you think about this roster?
Yeah, I'm looking at the player raters from last year, and I'm looking at averages. And really only two guys were 10-team worthy, and that's Dunn and Markkanen. Everyone else was outside the top 100. And Markkanen was at 76. So they didn't really have that many good fantasy players. But like you said, there were guys who were like stream worthy during the seasons, like Holiday and Valentine and even Bobby Portis. But this year, I think there could be four guys that are 10-team worthy, and Dunn, Markkanen. One of these wing players, we'll see if someone pops up, maybe Holiday, maybe Valentine. I'm sorry, Levine will be the third. And then whoever they draft may be there as well. So potentially four guys that are 10 to 12-team worthy, and then another 3 or 4 guys could be deeper league worthy, like 16-team. So Markkanen, 76 last year on the player rater on 30 minutes. And the only category where he might go down would be, I mean, he had 2.1 3-pointers. I can't see him going on too much. But if Levine takes more, that they spread it around, they have another shooting guard to take 3-pointers. Maybe he doesn't get as many, but I think that 2.1 is pretty stable. I do think his minutes are going to go up from 30. So I think he's going to outperform the 76 player rater this year. Maybe in the 60s. I don't know. I haven't done the numbers yet, but I think his field goal percent, excuse me. The one thing I think that will go up is his field goal percent. He was at 43%. He's a very good shooter. And I think that'll get better next season. So I'm really bullish on him. What are your thoughts on him as terms of where you might have him ranked?
Lauri Markkanen?
Yes.
Yeah, I really like Lauri Markkanen for next year. And, this is a guy I was on the fence about. I thought the Bulls kind of were making a mistake when they drafted this guy. I was really high on Dennis Smith Jr. I liked Donovan Mitchell a lot. And I kind of understand why they went for a big guy in the front court because, they had made the trade for Levine and Dunn. But I just really thought they made a mistake, and Lauri Markkanen proved me wrong. He was fantastic during the season. Looks like he's got a great shot. Was a good rebounder. I think he can get a lot better as well. I mean, it was just his first year. So I really like Lauri Markkanen for this upcoming season. So where I'm drafting him, I'm not really too sure yet. I'm really interested to see where he's going to be ranked going into the season and where his average draft position is in mock drafts. I would say maybe round 6 or 7, and I don't know if I'm being a little bit I'm not being bullish enough on him. If you told me you were going to take him in round 5, I could say, oh, okay, I understand that. So I don't know, Neil. What do you think? Where do you think he should go?
Well, nice use of the word bullish. Very good with that one. I think he's going to be in this. Well, I think his average would be in the 60s somewhere, and he could go a little bit higher, could go a little bit lower in terms of how he ends up in the player rater. So, and I used to like to get at least one round of value. So I probably wouldn't take him to the 6th or the 7th round. And I'm not sure he's going to last that long. So we'll see. Do you want to move on to the other players on this roster that are a little bit more on the fringe of?
Sure. Who else?
Is there anyone else that jumps out? Oh, let's go to Levine. He's probably the next most interesting one because he has the potential to be really good, right?
I'm glad that you mentioned him because I got some friends that are hardcore Chicago Bulls fans, and they're not sure about Zach LaVine. They're kind of wavering. I believe he's up for a contract extension. You may need to pay him a lot of money. I got some friends that say they don't know if he's worth a big contract. Look, the injury that he came back from takes time. It usually takes a full year to come back from an injury like the one that he had. I'm thinking that this upcoming season, we're going to see a different Zach LaVine than the guy that we saw this past season. So, when that last year when he was on the Minnesota Timberwolves, he looked really good, very aggressive, attacked the rim, shot it okay from outside. Probably needs to work on his efficiency there, but I really think he could be a solid 2-guard in this league, and I'm really hoping. I got high hopes for him. I think we can see a really great Zach LaVine this year. Now, as far as where I'm drafting him, I'm not going to draft him too early because I don't think you need to draft him too early. People aren't mega high on him, so I think you can kind of get him at a discount. I don't know. What do you think, Neil?
Well, let me ask you this question. I don't know if you looked it up, but where do you think he finished last year in ACAT and the player rater averages?
Well, it's got to – I'm not looking. It's got to be really low because he missed a lot of the year, first of all. And then
I'm saying averages, not
averages. Okay. I don't know. I'll say 95 range.
136.
Okay. Wow. That's really bad. Yeah.
He only shot 39%, and that's what really hurt him. And he only had 3 assists, and his field goal percent was 39%. So I'm worried that he might get overhyped as well. But he only played 27 minutes, so that's going to obviously increase. And so just based on that, he should get into the hundreds, around 100. So I can't imagine him dropping to like the 9th or 10th round. But I don't think I'm going to reach for him. So I probably won't get him because I think he's going to be overvalued based off what he will actually deliver.
Yeah.
So I'm not really big on him either. Is the guy you're talking about Frank? Is he the one who's not big?
You got it. You know him, Frank.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to see? You know what I'd like to
I miss doing shows with Frank. He was such a great.
Frank is the diehard Chicago Bulls fan.
I know. We talked about it a lot. He was great to talk with.
Yes. And okay, so listen, a lot of what Chris Dunn does is based on his ability to attack the rim. He can his athleticism really lets him blow by guys to get to the rim. It sets up his offense, and I'm wondering if he didn't really have the legs this year coming off of that injury. So that's why I'm wondering if we're going to see a different Zach LaVine next year, because, I'd really like to see where actually I'm trying to find it, but my computer's running so slow. I'd like to see where he finished on the player rater last year. The year, not this past year, the year before that, when he was in Minnesota, because I think that could be a more accurate reference as to what kind of value we can get from him from this upcoming season. So, but a lot of people like you, a lot of people like Frank, they're a little worried about him. They didn't like what they saw this past season. So, and then as I mentioned, this guy's up for an extension. You got to pay this guy if you want to keep him. So, I don't know, Neil. What do you think?
Yeah, you make a good point that his injury was one that might have prohibited him from playing the style of game that he likes to play. And in Minnesota, he did attack a lot. And he got a lot of, I think, more foul shots that way. And he got more plays at the rim and also more assists because he was able to draw defenses towards him. So maybe that will change with his rehab. We'll see. I'm a little down on him, though. So that's where I stand, too.
So, Neil, I kind of wanted to ask you about some more of these fringe guys. We saw David Nwaba go through stretches where he put up some really nice value when he got the minutes. Guys like Denzel Valentine have a real interesting skill set with their defense. We've seen Bobby Portis go through stretches where he has some decent value, good rebounder, can score. I didn't know that he had a 3-point shot, but there were games where he was draining it from outside. What are your thoughts on these deeper league fringe guys?
Yeah, they're all sort of bunched up together in like the 125 to like 175 range. And if I had to rank them, I think my favorite one might be Valentine. I think he has the potential to get 3-pointers, get rebounds, get decent assists, and he has decent percentages. The only thing is his steals are pretty low, 0.8, and his blocks are 0.1. Nwaba is probably the best actual basketball player of that group. Unfortunately, he's like a defensive first guy. He's not someone who's going to score much or get many offensive stats. So,
Neil,
but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did you do any of those evening NBA Fantasy Tonight shows with the great Eric Ong?
Yes,
you have the pleasure
we had a Friday night show together. Yes.
Don't let him hear you talk anything bad about David Nwaba. He loves David Nwaba. He will hunt you down if he hears you say anything negative about this guy.
Well, it's a good thing he's on the other side of the world. Yes, because I know he and I had some disagreements on players, and that's what made it fun. And he was such a high energy, emotional guy to talk with. So maybe I'll get paired up with him again this season. But I like him too. I do like him as a real life NBA player. I think he's very talented and as a role player. So I think he might get minutes. I just don't know what his stat set's going to be. So I'm worried about that. And he's not great at free throw percentages either. So it could hurt you there. He is though good with steals and blocks. So he's one of those guys that does well on the defensive end, but doesn't really. He's more like a very, very poor man's Draymond Green, if that makes sense, without the assists. So, okay. Holiday and Portis, so the other two. I don't know what Holiday is going to do. I think he's played 31 minutes last season. I'm assuming that's coming down with Levine taking over. So they're more interchangeable than any other player. And so I think his 3-pointers will come down. I think his rebounds will come down. I think his steals will come down. He took 11 shots a game last year. That might come down as well. So he only shot 37%. So I don't see him having as big a role this year. So I think he should not be starting in like 12-team leagues. Portis, the other player you mentioned, he was the highest in terms of player rate last year at 124. A lot of that came because of other guys were on the bench, and I don't know what his role is going to be. He wasn't going to be the starter last year. He got into it with Mirotic, and then started to play pretty good minutes when Mirotic was out, and then when he got traded. So, and I don't know how much of that was them playing him because they were okay with losing and just wanted to see what he could do versus he's really part of the future. I am more leaning towards he was just put on the court because they were okay with losing. I mean, I love his intensity. He's got great heart, great hustle. I just don't know if he's going to be part of the core rotation going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, most of these fringe guys that we're talking about right here, I'm not really planning on drafting any of these guys in standard leagues. But I definitely will keep Bobby Portis, Valentine, Nwaba. I'll definitely keep these guys on my watch list coming into the season. And then, I just don't trust Justin Holiday. I agree with you. If Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine come into this season looking good, looking healthy, if they have a strong preseason, I just can't see him getting the minutes. Coming into this past season, Justin Holiday was like a really strong sleeper pick for me because I knew that LaVine wasn't going to be ready at the beginning of the season. I knew that this team kind of had a big void as far as usage, and they needed scoring, and I thought he was going to be great. Didn't shoot well at all, was just kind of a real letdown, and so I'm just off of that guy. And then, so Lauri Markkanen, Zach LaVine, Chris Dunn, these are your main guys that you're targeting in this upcoming season. And then let's see what happens in this draft, man. If they end up with a really good big men in this draft, and there's 5 or 6 of them that I like a lot, it could be a strong fantasy pick. So let's see what happens in this draft. All right, Neil, any closing thoughts on the Chicago Bulls?
Well, one guy we didn't talk about is Robin Lopez. I'll just throw him out there because he was the starting center, even though he only played 26 minutes. He ended up with a player rating of 162. I owned him for way too long last year, and he really isn't start worthy. It's amazing that a guy that's 7 foot tall only got 4.5 rebounds a game. I guess that's a lot of how they play their defense. Robin would often box out players and let someone else grab the rebound. So his role is really diminished. He only had 0.8 blocks, so he's not even going to be worthy in 14-team leagues. So it's unfortunate.
You know, I'm really glad that you mentioned him because coming into this past season, he got drafted in a lot of leagues because everyone penciled him in as the starting center. And, you know, we've seen Robin Lopez in previous seasons put up some pretty decent value, but he was a giant letdown this past season, and he's just not even on my radar at all. I'm curious if he'll even be on this team for the upcoming year, man. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. He may not even be NBA worthy, you know, with his game and the way the direction the league's going. So definitely not fantasy worthy.
Yep. All right. So I think that's about it for the Bulls, man. I think we covered them pretty good. Neil, were you really heavy into that Michael Jordan era? And if so, is it tough now, like watching this team in this rebuild era?
Well, you know, I didn't live in Chicago during that time. I'm not from here. So
okay.
They're sort of my adopted team because I can, you know, watch them every night when they play. And there's so much media, you know, local media coverage I can consume. But I was old enough to watch Jordan, and yeah, I was a fan. I was a huge fan of Michael Jordan. I don't know how you cannot be. He was just so transcendent of a player, but I wasn't a Bulls fan, so I was just an NBA fan trying to watch every game I could of his. I was so excited when he finally broke through and got into the finals, and then was able to win all those championships. So all I know is if you live here, never mention that LeBron might be on the same level because talk about getting beat up. Yes, that will happen quickly.
You know, right now, if LeBron retired, I do not think he's on the same level as Michael Jordan. But I got to say, very impressive to see the year that LeBron had. What is he, 32 years old, I believe? I forget how many years he's been in the league, but it's more than 10. For him to have the career year that he had, if he can do this for 4 more years, I think, and let's say he wins 1 or 2 more rings, I think we got to start talking about him being in the same league as Michael Jordan. And if he keeps going at this rate, he's going to pass Kareem as the number 1 scorer in NBA history. So, LeBron's story is not finished yet. So I think as of right now, though, Michael Jordan still has the edge as the greatest player of all time. But when LeBron's story's done, I don't know. It's going to be very close, man.
Yeah, it's fun to talk about.
Yeah. They're fun. They're really fun conversations. All right, Neil, we did the Bulls. We're going over like 30 minutes plus. This is like kind of right around where we wanted to be. Any closing thoughts on just what do you got going on for the rest of the week?
Well, I'm going to be on with Dan on Thursday, so I'll be back on again, and then golfing on Friday. So that's kind of my schedule. A little bit of
Nice. I'm going to be at the. Nice. I'm going to be at the river, so I'll be gone for the rest of the week. But I know you and Dan probably got a lot to talk about. You'll finish up this division. And Dan is really dreading doing the review of the Detroit Pistons. Dan's going to do the show solo on Friday, and he knows that he's got a sneaky suspicion that he's going to be left with the Detroit Pistons. All right, Neil, I think that's about it for the show. Let's put a bow on this. You guys, thanks so much for listening. Please hit us up, man. We want to hear from you guys. We want to answer some questions. Thanks so much, you guys. Neil, have a good week.
You too, Adrian. Take care.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.